There's a lot to be learning and doing. Oh, there's a lot. Uh, and I put in the description, it's only for those that will end up hearing, can hear these words because of the truth that a carnal man or carnal woman, still an unbeliever, a fool, as the Creator calls us, that everyone that's carnal is a fool also, and it's literal. Things we do as carnal is foolish and stupid at the end of the day. It's actually stupid, but it has to be perceived. A fool does not receive correction, powerful words. You start believing these words we never believed or seen or believed, and over time. Like, that's for all fools. It does not receive correction ever, just like we can read multiple times with plain letters. It does not receive correction. That is extraordinarily prideful, so his people need to be receiving correction by the Creator's chastising judgment. But, I bet there's going to be some resistance. I bet there's going to be some problems on the way. But it's overcoming these things. That's what a saint needs to do by the Father's power, overcome these exact same problems. Resist learning, stubbornness, letting it go. It needs to learn all these things. So today already, an example today, and it's going to sound foolishness to those that don't believe it all. I know. Can't do anything about it. Too bad, I guess. Too bad without guessing. It just is. Was on the way to a place to pick up an order. I didn't have anything yet. I was on the way to get it. And there's a railroad crossing that's the dumbest system I've ever seen. It might be the dumbest one in the United States because it's extraordinarily rough. And it's like it's pretty wide. And it's super rough. And when a train does stop there, most of the times it comes right up to the edge where you could go and they don't let you go. And then or when it's passing by, it slows down and it's going slow, and it took forever just to stop. And it hasn't passed by yet. And then it starts going backwards, slow. Then it starts going forwards again. And it's crazy. It's like a 20-minute wait, 15-minute wait sometimes. But there's a way to go around, you turn around and you can go around and bypass it if you go around. But anyway, that same one that I don't like, that same exact spot that I use a lot, virtually every day. If I'm even remotely busy, I must cross it every day, multiple times a day. And it's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. When it stops, I usually don't wait anymore. I go instantly around if there's a train crossing. But this time it started going down. I got a little angry. I might forget this. As the thing was going down, I went around and through the middle so the things don't hit me. And I crossed just as they were coming down. I went crossing wise. Ha, got it, stupid thing. And then I go and get my order. And it's the very same order on the way to delivering it. The very same order. Now I'm delivering it. I'm going down the road. And there's another crossing, but it's not the exact same spot. And there's one car in front of me driving, and the thing starts coming down a different spot on the way to deliver this thing. So it's like all one, the pickup and then delivery. I crossed it before it stopped. As it was coming down, I went through anyways, around it. And then car in front of me, at the different spot on the way, different crossing, the thing started coming down. The gates, little sticks, whatever, started coming down, and the car right to the second. Like, if I was in front of the other guy in front of me, it would be like the exact same scenario. It'd be coming down, and do I stop or go through like last? But there was a car in front of me. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not going to do it like I did just literally a few minutes earlier. So I stopped behind the car. I'm like, these things just stop you at the perfect time constantly, over and over. As it was coming down, a guy on the other side was going through and even going around it. It was already coming down. And by the time he passed, they were like already down. So he did the same thing I did earlier at the other one. He was going through, he made it to go through as they were already coming down before he crossed, go around it. And just as they like come down, he's already passed through, just as he passed through. I'm watching the guy and I'm watching myself. I'm like, I just did that a few minutes ago at the other one, at the other crossing. And, then some thoughts start coming to mind, a temptation. What happens? A temptation to go, oh yeah, that guy, he's crossing while it's come down. He's not obeying. And then instantly, I just did that. Just did that a few minutes ago. And maybe I got stopped on this one right down to the second while watching another guy cross and do what I did for the first time that I can remember in the last few months of doing this job. I've never seen one person cross in the last few months that I can remember. While it's already going down, they go and despise the law and go through it and around the sticks as it's coming down anyways. I just did that on the way to the place to pick up and went through it as they were coming down. And now I got stopped right to the second on another one on the way to deliver the thing. And the guy is going through doing what I did. These things aren't coincidence, but let it be for anyone who can hear these words. Then there's, each one needs to learn whatever they're learning that the Father is saying. They're going to end up like Sarah and go, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. They don't realize, we're not realizing how much we are exactly what we read. It's pretty scary. We're pretty blind. Well, utterly blind before believing, but there's a lot of unblinding still, healing to do in his people. So it's like a little put to shame, a little here, shame, little there, instead of being dumped all at once. A little destruction and cutting off here, a little destruction cutting off there, instead of being dumped in Gehenna fire all at once, body and soul. They have no clue what those words mean in religion. Zero perceiving, zero spiritual understanding of what this means for the judgment. If they even remotely understood that, they would have fear in their eyes and they would be shaking and buckling right now, their knees. They wouldn't even be able to stand at the messenger of heaven's presence, let alone at the judgment. Utter destruction. So then so what does that bring up? Well, hypocrisy. Always when there's any kind of sin, there's the temptation to be a hypocrite. And so then he shows you can't be that, starts getting you to realize that you've done whatever anyone's done, any sin in the heart is, everyone's already done that. So the difference is actually starting to see self and understand the sin and understanding they've done it, and to stop making hypocritical, condemning, pointing finger kind of judgment. This doesn't mean that someone can never correct another believer. That's actually what they're supposed to do, is rebuke another brother sharply so they can be corrected. And do this properly without being a hypocrite. But it's a little different for unbelievers because they don't, nothing to understand spiritually, could actually perceive it. A fool does not accept correction. What's going to happen when you try to correct and point out someone's wicked works in the heart? The only thing we're really caring about, spiritual wickedness in high places, actual sin in the heart for an unbeliever. What will they all do? They'll trample you. They're going to rage and fume, and everyone else won't mind because they're being exposed too. They're against you too. So they won't mind someone raging and fuming and cussing you out and stepping on you and doing whatever sin they need, doing a bunch of sin while they're trying to prove they're right and you're wrong, like a child always does. That's all it cares about, because it's God. It's never wrong, and it never receives correction. So if you chastise and rebuke strongly someone's wicked work of the heart to like a Gentile, an unbeliever, whether religious or not, anybody that doesn't actually believe and have the Father, you can expect with 100% confidence instant wrath, instant anger. and they're going to try to suck you into what they do. You keep going, you can't win, because what you're saying, even if it's something the Father's given us to see and we're seeing something and understanding something, you try to tell them, put it down them and force it down them, we'll be the ones ended up trampled by swine in the mud. It'll happen. So there's a different way of doing things to those that don't even believe yet. That's all I'm saying. That's the fool receives no correction, zero. In the heart, it's never received correction, ever, ever, ever. And, you know, Messiah's people should know something about it, because all they have to do is rewind a little and remember things. If they're honest with themselves, you know, no carnal person receives correction in the heart, not with words, with deception. With deception. That's only deception on the outside, masquerading like something, looking like something. That's not real. That's fake. Who cares about that? That's already sin. It's a lie, a masquerade. Only talking about the heart. A carnal man has never repented or received correction in the heart about anything, ever. And this is why we see certain things often. You just tell someone a little different than what they said. You see someone else doing this at the store or whatever, and there's like instant like needing to correct you. That's all it does, because it's God. And then the other God needs to correct you, you know, and it's constant sin continually. Neither one of those walking out of the store, for example, what just some dumb example, in their heart, they already believed the same thing and received no correction in the heart. And each one walking away angry, believing it's God and it's right, both individually in the heart. So a fool does not receive correction. So yeah, it's not going to come easy at first, you know, but Messiah's people have to receive correction from the Father, chastisement. Obviously, everything we've done is carnal, is wrong, so now we need to be corrected constantly. And the Creator of the heavens and earth says to Sarah, with some kind of miracle that's easy for the Father, I'll be back in the appointed time, and you're going to have a kid at an old age, which wasn't literally possible with them. They couldn't do that, but he was going to make a miracle possible, as if it was no big deal. And Sarah laughs, and then we can read a rebuke, you know, for our admonition. It says, why do you laugh? Creator saying, why do you laugh? And Sarah says, get scared. I didn't laugh. I don't laugh. And then the answer back again, yes, you did laugh. You know, it's hilarious. It's like a little child. It's like father, son, father, daughter, like little child teaching, rebuking, learning. You know. This is a little bit more grand, you know, sin compared to like a father, son, and boys and stuff. This is a little bit, we're dealing with life and death, you know, but it's something like that, though. They don't see who the Father is. It is just something like that, because he created Father, Son. You know, it's something like that. It's just a lot greater with the Heavenly Father, and then the little children down on earth that need correction, rebuke, you know. So then, what does the Father do to his people? He rebukes what do evil. What does he want his people to do to his people? Rebuke them when they do some kind of wrong. What about to those that don't know him, who don't receive any correction, or let alone chastising correction from the Father? Can you do the same to them? No, you can't, because the Creator is not chastising them for the purpose of correcting them. It's just he's judging them and sending destruction, judgments, anxieties, fears, doubts, death, spiritual, physical, disease, spiritual, physical, whatever he's doing. You know, car accident, it doesn't matter what happens, sickness, depression, anxiety, fears, worries, doubts, all these things, however he's judging someone. It has nothing to do with him not judging everyone, but unbelievers are not receiving chastising, correcting judgment like a believer is. There's two different things there, and the unbelievers is not receiving that right now yet. Therefore, we have to do what the Father does. So unbelievers don't receive correction or chastising correction as long as they don't believe. They don't have the Spirit. Therefore, It makes sense then we do what he does then. For an unbeliever, you can't rebuke and correct and chastise because the Creator's not doing it. And you see how quickly something becomes foolish. He just gave me that right now to see the foolishness of that. That's something I've wondered in the past, you know. The carnal man's quick to do whatever he wants with everyone, but this is for those who can hear, for believers. You can't rebuke and correct an unbeliever like another believer. You can't do it the same way like that because they're not receiving correction from the Father. To think we can give them correction and rebuke them, and the Father himself's not doing that with the unbeliever, is to be a God in our own mind, is to be extraordinarily prideful and stupid. But someone that's carnal doesn't see these things. Therefore, it's just, it's not true. I'm not God. I'm not prideful. Yes, it is. They can't see it yet. And once we see it, it's a little scary that we've done stupid things like that. This is only for those that are learning and growing in Messiah, not anyone else that doesn't believe yet. They'll never acknowledge foolishness and lack of correction and pride. You know, they don't care. The heart's not receiving any correction. Therefore, we can't hand pearls to swine, and you can't rebuke and correct an unbeliever because they aren't receiving it from the Creator. How will they receive it from puny little man? If the Father's not doing it and we are, what is that? We must be doing the sin and not the Creator. See, it makes sense. Everything that he's taught me makes sense also, and it flows perfectly and is logical and orderly. Maybe that, you know, that might help to say the words. You know, if someone, that's the only benefit for one believer to another is maybe just learning something a little quicker for speaking back and forth. That's it. It's not us doing any actual teaching. You know, maybe it's just like to put something on someone's mind, and then maybe they'll, you know, because of that, they'll ask about it or hear quicker, you know, learn from the Creator himself. We're hearing those words, how he works, you know. You can't try to figure out how he, like his judge, just that it's true, just that it works like that so often. But trying to figure out every little judgment for every little person on the earth, every second of every day, their whole entire life and what they did, what they're doing now, and how the Creator's judging them right now for every little work and action. I mean, that would be to say, I'm God, I'm the Creator. No one can comprehend that because it's for him only to comprehend and do. We can't. It's not given to us to be able to see all that, and to try and act as if we do is sin and incredibly stupid. So then it's stupid to rebuke and correct someone that's an unbeliever, that the Creator himself is not doing just yet to them, because a fool does not receive correction. Only more wrath, only more fiery judgment, but not correction, not learning and growing, not chastising, which is always for the purpose of loving correction. Father chastises the Son. And so then if we, you know, someone might have to create this sin, might have to weakness of the flesh, you know, and you do something wrong. The destruction of the flesh is learning what sin is actually the destruction of our own flesh. Like, you don't learn what sin is unless you actually do it. And then a little bit of chopping off, a little bit of learning, a little growth, a little more chopping off of the old man. It's through the weakness of the flesh sinning, revealing sin, and seeing some kind of judgment, and seeing the punishment or the rewards for doing what's right, or punishment for doing what's wrong. Revealing it, seeing it, and then a little bit of cutting off. Okay, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. I've seen that thing. And, you know, a little more cut off. It's through making mistakes for the people. That's what he's chastising these people. Cut off the eye that causes sin, cutting off the hand that causes sin. It's some stupid preacher, man, behind a pulpit on YouTube, whatever, you know, mocking Messiah. Oh, cut off the hand. dispensations, like I've heard, a lot of them use that trick. They use dispensation, the deception of dispensations and complicated, stupid things, so that they can what? Do away with actual truth in the heart. So they can mock Messiah and say, well, we're not of him. Otherwise, we'd have to cut off our hand. And the people sitting there actually believe that what people used to cut off their hands back in the day in the other dispensation. Very, very, very blind and stupid. It's scary. So that we'll end up doing things too, and that we haven't learned something yet, you end up learning. Maybe next time just stop and don't cross the railroad as it's coming down, or else he's going to make you stop a couple minutes later and get you back. You got away? Okay. Now what about this time? And right to the second it's closing, just as you would have passed. Didn't get away this time, did you? Oh, and watch. This guy over here's going to do what you did so you could see yourself. And he crossed while it was closing like you did. What do you think of that? All right, peace. Take care. Seek truth.